One pair of cracked shoes, covered in blood. One target successfully dispatched. One escape route a little more difficult than I expected. I buzz through to the stepmother. The radio hisses and crackles when I turn it on. Reporting in, escape route compromised, requesting alternative route. For too long, there is nothing but silence from the radio. The general static covering the sound of potential footsteps approaching. They were going to find me. They were going to find me stood over the prince. They were going to find me coated in his blood. They were going to find me holding the murder weapon, and soon I would be just as dead as the prince. Finally, a burst of static. Kzzk. This is Stepsister 1 receiving. Stepsister 1? I'm on stepmother frequencies. Stepmother has been compromised. What do you need? An alternate escape route? Sorry, plans are all corrupted. You're going to have to find your own way out of this one. Just don't head back to headquarters. Wait for further orders. They'll come. They have to. I looked down at the prince's body again. His blood had started pooling, sticky under my feet. I still wore one of those delicate glass shoes, but only one. The other I held in my hand, also coated in the prince's blood. So I had to find my own way out of the palace. I had come in through the front door, invitation in hand. Shoes clicking noticeably on the floor. Apart from the shoes and one glove, I was still mostly presentable. It could be as simple as walking out the front door. High risk, though, returning through the ballroom filled with suitors, through all those dancers, past the food, through everyone who had seen me leave with the prince. But it didn't look like I had another option. So, hiding my gloves in the shrubbery and shoving my bloody shoe back onto my foot, so as to have an even gait and the right kind of sound, I headed back to the ballroom. I decided if I was quick enough, not so quick as to draw attention, but quick enough, I really might have a chance of getting out unscathed. Keeping my head high and my hands behind my back, I strode with delicate, ladylike steps into the room. I needn't have worried about the sound of my shoes. I wouldn't have been able to hear them over the music. Chatter filled the ballroom, people asking where the prince had gone, what his plans might be, and who he'd seemed to favour. People discussing how exciting it was to finally have a ball in the kingdom. People inviting one another to dance, accepting and refusing. Discussions of food and music and fashion. Nobody noticed me. They never did, they never would. Everybody is always so caught up in their own life, they don't really care about other people. I'd learnt that the hard way a long time ago. I'd learnt that when my father had sold me to the stepmother. It was easy enough to manoeuvre into the hallway, towards the front door. One palace staff member asked if I was leaving. I told them I had to be home by midnight. This corridor had been busy when I had arrived. It had been filled with tittering young ladies and fanciful young lords, all debating who was likely to catch the prince's eye. Of course, the fairy godmothers had designed my looks perfectly to catch his eye, without catching anyone else's. Now the corridor was empty of people. I could finally see the pearlescent tiles on the floor, the gold paintings on the archways, the trinkets and knickknacks hidden in every alcove, each one more expensive than even my glass slippers. The corridor seemed short when there were so many of us. While it took forever to get to the ballroom, I had attributed that to the fact that they were taking the time to introduce each person. I'd hung back, hiding in an alcove until the announcements were over. No need to draw the attention of an announcement. No need for a code name that way. As I clip-clopped down the corridor, now it seemed to stretch 1,000 kilometres. An endless, dangerous area. It would be easy to spot my blue gown in the gold and white of the corridor. It would be easy to spot if I was leaving bloody footprints. I didn't dare look over my shoulder to check. Finally, the huge oak doors with gold inlay stood before me. I reached out to push on them, so close to my destination now. If I could get out of these doors, I would be halfway home. The weight of the door was more than I expected. Finally, with a creak and a crack, they opened enough for me to squeeze through. There! A booming voice bellowed down the corridor, followed by the sound of what seemed like hundreds of feet. I squished myself through the tiny gap, leaving a swatch of bright red blood on the door. I dashed down the stairs, heels clicking, heart pounding. Stop! That same voice bellowed. I risked a glance over my shoulder. Sure enough, a host of royal guards chased me. I stumbled, losing my bloodied shoe. Still I ran. My radio crackled to life. "We're getting reports of a murder in the palace." Stepsister 2's nasal tone came loud and clear over the static. "I thought the files were corrupted," I snapped. "You're supposed to be a covert agent. They weren't supposed to find him yet." I muted the radio. Yanking my other shoe off my foot, I dashed across the royal grass. The gates were closed, and even if they hadn't been, they would be by the time I got there. I didn't want the gates. I wanted that small patch of fence that had already been damaged, just a little. It seemed like I lost half my dress and my skin to the rusty broken fence, but I was out, and that was enough. If you liked this, you can find more of my short stories on nopoodles.wordpress.com. Check out the playlist for more read-alouds, and if you'd like to support what I do, there's a link to my Ko-fi account in the description. If you're here for my series on how to write LGBT characters and why you should anyway, don't worry, that picks back up next week.